I'm going to call the regular meeting of Lakewood City Council for April 3rd, 2023 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now pause for a moment of silence. Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Baker.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
Keppel.
Here.
Litton.
Here.
Marks.
Here.
Rader.
Yep.
Schachner.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held March 20, 2023.
Move to dispose without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 1.
Item 1, report from Public Works and Sustainability Committee, meeting held March 27, 2023.
Chairman Rader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, the Public Works and Sustainability Committee met on March 27th to consider two pieces of legislation. First, Cuyahoga County Sustainability Director Mike Foley joined the committee to discuss Resolution 2023-10. This resolution seeks an agreement between Cuyahoga County and the City of Lakewood to establish a public utility that extends into the city. Though the project is still in its beginning phases, the county and the committee are optimistic about the possibilities for the proposed microgrids and other types of projects that will eventually offer more affordability, clean energy choices to residents and businesses in Lakewood. So the second thing next, Ms. Quilty from the Help Foundation met with the committee to discuss legislation to renew the Help Foundation's existing lease to operate the Lakewood Park concession stand for 2023 season. The committee and Ms. Quilty discussed the concession stand facilities, the operation, wages, the menu, opportunities, and potential for expansion in the future. The potential and also the potential of a long-term contract between the city and the Help Foundation was discussed more than the year, but the current resolution, the current ordinance is for just that 1 year, the one season this year, 2023. The motion was adopted to re-enter and retitle the legislation. The resolution, which was formally Resolution 2023-12 to Ordinance 08-2023. So there was an amendment, Mr. President, and we changed that to reflect that it's an ordinance, not a resolution. Both pieces of legislation were recommended for adoption, and that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that written communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 2.
Item 2, Resolution 2023-10, a resolution authorizing the mayor or director of public works to enter into an agreement with Cuyahoga County for the operation of a public utility within the boundaries of the city of Lakewood.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
I want to say thanks to Mayor George and Councilman Rader for getting this rolling. It's my privilege and honor to co-sign onto this. This will make Lakewood the 6th participant in a countywide utility, and usually we like to be the first, but somehow we're still in the top 10. This is good regional government here. We could contemplate creating our own municipal utility. We have a municipal utility for water and wastewater. We could do it for power. It makes a lot more sense to, I think, in my opinion, to team up with the county where we've got some economies of scale. They're incurring the administrative and the legal complexity. There's no immediate action involved here until down the line some specific projects are proposed. There'll be more discussion when and if the time comes for that. So I guess I'm speaking to the Plain Dealer editorial page more than anyone here because they're always impressing upon local governments for the need for regional cooperation. This would enable us to do that. So I think it's a good way for Lakewood to participate once again in some joint services with the county government, and they've been doing a nice job. So thanks to Mayor George and Councilman Rader.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 3, Ordinance 08-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the concession lease agreement with Help Foundation for the operation of food concession at Lakewood Park pursuant to Section 15508 of the codified ordinances.
As noted by Councilman Rader, this piece shifted from a resolution to an ordinance, thus subject to our 3 readings rule and is not in any rush, so I will move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 4.
Item 4, report from Committee of the Whole meeting held April 3rd, 2023.
Thank you. The Committee of the Whole met this evening, just previous to this meeting, whereby all members of the committee were present, as were many members of the administration. Of major discussion were some proposals from both council and the administration related to council's ARPA funds to distribute. Items included for discussion were a generator for Cove Community Center, a potential solar option for same, Madison Park Master Plan, some pickleball courts, traffic calming measures, some potential ODOT acquisitions, child care scholarships, public Wi-Fi in our parks, and then, as we were just discussing, concessions at Lakewood Park and the potential expansion there. We merely touched on each of these items, got some initial discussions going, and I think are going to be able to hit the ground running with some outside groups proposing at our meeting to come next week, if I'm not mistaken. Move to receive and file that oral report.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Just want to thank everybody for a thorough discussion, including the administration and my colleagues. Hearing no further, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 5.
Item 5, Ordinance 05-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending Section 90213, Summer Sprinkling Program of the Lakewood Codified Ordinances, to expand the program by 1 month.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 6.
Item 6, Ordinance 07-2023, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending Sections 112109A, Single-Family Maximum Lot Area Coverage, 112309A, Single and Two-Family Maximum Lot Coverage, and 113306, Conversion of Single-Family Structure Prohibited of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Lakewood in order to update the provisions.
I'll move to defer.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, Mr. President.
Councilman Bullock.
Simply to acknowledge that the Housing Planning and Development Committee is scheduled to meet on this ordinance next week or in the next 2 weeks. Pardon? The 17th of April. So we'll have some discussion. It's also being referred to the Planning Commission, which will meet in the future after that. So I think we'll have at least one and maybe another meeting in consultation. But this is a big topic, and I would welcome other council members, even if you're not formally on the committee, to join, bring your thoughts and your expertise. Thanks.
And I just want to clarify, this is not on the April Planning Commission agenda, or is it? It is not. Thank you, Clerk Bach. Okay. On the motion to defer, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 7.
Item 7, communication from Vice President Keppel regarding council appointment to Community Health Needs Standing Committee.
Vice President Keppel.
Dear colleagues, following this communication is a resolution to appoint one member of Lakewood City Council to the newly established Community Health Needs Standing Committee. As you may recall, the Standing Committee was established as a result of the culmination of the Community Health Needs Assessment process and its supporting action plan to be a vehicle for carrying out the recommendations from that process and to continue pursuits related to health and wellness in the community. City Council is one of 7 organizations that will comprise the core membership of the Standing Committee. Given the subject matter of the committee, the following resolution proposes to permanently assign Council's Chair of Health and Human Services to serve on the committee. I hope you will join me in considering passage of this resolution tonight. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Sounds like a good idea to me. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 8, Resolution 2023-16, a resolution to take effect immediately appointing the Chair of Lakewood City Council's Health and Human Services Committee to serve as Council's core member of the Community Health Needs Standing Committee.
I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Bullock.
is just for the record, the chair of the City Council's Health and Human Services Committee is the Council Vice President Capel. Okay, and is that individual interested in serving in this capacity and in, coordinating with other council members and reporting back?
Yes, absolutely. And just to be clear about this too, this is appointing the person in that position to the standing committee. So should the chair change, then that appointment would change as well. But of course, as the person in that position currently, it certainly would be my pleasure to keep council informed as I do with ADA Task Force and the Tree Advisory Board and everything else.
Thank you, through the President to the Vice President. Thank you for that explanation. And I think, the structure makes sense. The only caveat would be if we had a future chair of the Health and Human Services Committee that did not want to serve, we might have to in the future address that circumstance. But the point being driven at is, I think by your proposed resolution and my comments is or are that this is important work, and I think it's an opportunity for the community and for City Council to have an influence over some important work. So I do hope and expect that all 7 of us work with the appointee, and that the appointee will be an active, engaged participant. That has been the Council Vice President's track record, so I'm talking really in general terms, not in individual terms in this case. But thanks for framing up this resolution.
I do appreciate the retroactive nature of how it's written, and yet for future chairs of that committee, we will want to make sure they're aware of the additional responsibility. Any other discussion on the motion to adopt?
Quick question. If you don't
Councilman Rader.
This is not an ex officio. This is actually a voting member of the committee, right? I think it is. That was a separate resolution.
Yes, I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, okay. I think this is a very smart way to go about it. Maybe we should consider doing this in the future with other boards and commissions to keep things sort of relating to the committees they're relating to. So appreciate the leadership on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to adopt? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 9.
Item 9, communication from Councilmember Rader regarding Arab American Heritage Month.
Councilmember Rader.
Thank you. It is my distinct pleasure to bring forward the following resolution that formally recognizes the achievements of the Arab Americans through the celebration of National Arab American Heritage Month this April 2023. Across the country, cultural institutions, school districts, municipalities, state legislators, and nonprofit organizations issue proclamations and engage in special events celebrating this community's rich heritage and numerous contributions to the society. Last year, over 250 Arab American volunteers in 45 states gathered over 144 proclamations from their states, counties, municipalities, and even the President of the United States recognized this in some public remarks around April as National Arab American Heritage Month in a statement publicly. Additionally, Congress and the U.S. Department of State and 45 state governors issue proclamations commemorating this event. Today, we seek to thank the Lakewood Arab American community members for their significant and continued contributions here to the city of Lakewood, to the state, and our great nation as we designate April National Arab American Heritage Month. I'll add that a few groups, including the Arab American Foundation and the Ohio Leadership Council, Arab American Ohio Leadership Council, thanked us for bringing forward this resolution. They couldn't be here tonight. It is Ramadan, and right now they're breaking their fast. So they couldn't be here because that meal is very important. That they did want to accept a formal resolution, and they'll be coming by, I think, next week to pick that up, and I'll certainly invite anyone who wants to come and be part of that celebration. Should we pass this tonight, of course, and I welcome your support on this, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. I just want to thank Councilman Rader for bringing this forward, and we have, here in Lakewood, we are blessed to have one of the largest Arab American communities in the state of Ohio, and certainly want to recognize their great contributions to our city.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 10, Resolution 2023-17, a resolution to join with states, municipalities, and other jurisdictions around the country to designate April as Arab American Heritage Month in the city of Lakewood, Ohio, by celebrating the Arab American culture and paying tribute to the contributions of Arab Americans.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Just glad we're doing this. I suppose sometimes I wish we didn't have to recognize it in some special way, but I think in times like these, if I can call it that, it's important for us to highlight the contributions of every community in Lakewood, especially our Arab American community. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 11, communication from the administration regarding need for diversification of vehicles in police fleet.
Who are we looking at here? Director Rancour.
Mr. President, members of council, the administration remains committed to providing our police force with the best equipment to successfully monitor our community to keep it as safe as possible. This includes updating the fleet of police vehicles that serve the community. This has involved the steady turnover of older gas model combustion engines, replacing them with hybrid engine vehicles, which is proving to be a welcome transformation to the police fleet, providing excellent mileage and coming with an 8-year warranty that reduces maintenance cost. We recently welcomed the delivery of 4 new hybrid vehicles from the 2022 budget this past week. An assessment of the most current needs of the police division indicates a need for a police patrol vehicle with additional storage capacity. The cargo space in the rear of our hybrid vehicles remains limited with workings of the radio, lights and siren, and the in-car video. Also, the second row seating of our police hybrid vehicles does not fold down due to the prisoner containment system. For the reasons listed above, there exists a need for a vehicle with additional storage capacity, such as a pickup truck to handle additional items that may need to be transported during a shift, such as bikes and other items that may be brought to the scene or confiscated to continue smooth operations for patrolmen on duty. Given the aforementioned, we request that the 2023 budget that currently calls for 5 hybrid vehicles be amended to reflect the same total of 5 police vehicles, with 4 being hybrid and 1 being a pickup truck. We will search for a police-rated hybrid pickup truck, but please be aware that due to the current supply chain issues, the pickup truck will in all likelihood be a gas combustion engine with a slightly lower initial cost outlay. Also, due to the critical timing issues the administration faces in procuring vital equipment, We ask that you engage in any discussion necessary at this point and pass this legislation on first reading. Chief Kalchek is available to answer any questions regarding the need for this type of vehicle, and Director Gordon is available to further elaborate on the current police fleet and its supply chain environment. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll first move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the communication? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 12.
Item 12, Resolution 2023-12, a resolution to take effect immediately permitting the mayor, director of public works, finance director, and purchasing manager to substitute the purchase of a pickup truck in lieu of one of the hybrid police vehicles that were planned for in the 2023 budget.
I'll start with a motion to adopt.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Councilman Rader.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to the chief and Public Works Director. Your last paragraph of that communication, probably should have said this in the communication, but was very true. You were very available when I piped up when I saw this in the docket. Anything that sort of, whenever I notice there's a snag in our plans to do sustainability more, and I certainly want to make sure that we're doing our best. And you certainly convinced me that you went the full extent of figuring out how to get this to work out and maintain that level of hybrids, that the full 7 hybrids we were going for. So, in our sustainability plan, which we'll have, the climate action plan, which we'll have, it states that starting next year, 2024, we're going to make a really earnest effort to purchase all hybrids if possible. And I think that's what you've done here. I appreciate it. Initially I had some reservations, but I especially after speaking to Police Chief Kerchek, if it comes down to safety, it comes down to we have to make sure that these vehicles are rated to be able to withstand the different types of what are they? The different types of classifications that the police department needs. I get it. I understand why this is made. That said, I think it's really important that we start focusing before the budget this next time around and really focusing on what we do if these types of supply chain issues persist going into next year, so that when there are potential changes that come about, and we know it's happening more and more. I mean, the police chief, Dunphy, was just talking about how these fire trucks are getting exponentially more expensive. Every month to month, they can grow in price, and we know the supply chain issues probably are not going anywhere for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. I wish it were different. But we'd love to work with you on that, helping to make sure that in the future we're able to get exactly what we want, when we want, even if it means planning a year and a half ahead, maybe. Maybe we have to do budgeting sooner. But again, thank you so much for all your hard work. I'm in support of this resolution tonight because of your hard work and your due diligence on this, so appreciate it.
Councilman, I appreciate those comments. Councilman Bullock, did you have further?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So first of all, I appreciate the communication from the administration to update council on, the state of affairs here, because, obviously it's a priority for our community and for city council. So thank you for addressing this directly. Secondly, it's another opportunity, as we're saying in the committee of the whole, on backup power. We've got a sustainability commitment long-term that's about to be formalized in a climate action plan. So vehicles are a whole category. Building power supplies are another whole category. There's a lot to this. So this is an opportunity for us to show with our actions that we're starting to move on clean vehicles. The fact that there's supply chain challenges just means we have to plan ahead and anticipate those. We do that all the time on everything from asphalt supplies and road salt to vehicles. So it's not easy, but it's also not impossible. We just have to plan ahead and prioritize it. If we're going to get a conventional police pickup, you're talking about a V6 that's very fuel consumptive. I don't think we have all hybrid vehicles for police anyway, so if there are space constraints, couldn't that be solved by using the non-hybrid conventional or not? That's one option to look at. But the other thing really beyond the police is, for the administration, and this dates back to previous administrations too, is the emergency vehicles are the most difficult to address because they have performance first responder criteria to deal with. So in many ways, we should be working on pool vehicles and non-police and non-fire vehicles, although, Chief, we talked about how the vehicles that the fire chief and the assistant chiefs drive are a lot closer to conventional vehicles and could be electric sooner than, say, the big heavy trucks that power the emergency equipment. So the question for the city is, what are we doing? If the answer is we're facing difficulties and logistics, what are we doing? We've been talking about this for a long time, and we haven't been acting and delivering. So if you're a member of the public or a member of City Council, show me how we care and show me what we're doing to move on this. Because so far we haven't, so we've had a narrow focus on police vehicles, and we hit an understandable problem in procurement, but why haven't we been also pursuing clean vehicles on non-police vehicles, where the procurement issues are still there, but a lot less acute? So that's a challenge to all of us. It's an opportunity for all of us to show some leadership in the region and to our community. I don't mean to be negative on individual leaders. I do mean to be holding us accountable to our own long-stated goals. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. I think if we have acquisition issues or challenges that are exacerbated by the nature by which governments work, which is sometimes having to seek approval for things and stuff like that, that if there are ways that we can approve something we know we might approve in December anyway, in terms of budget line items for next year in advance, if that is a thing, that an action we could take that would help with ordering and supply chain issues and things like that, I think, speaking on behalf of this council, we'd be open to at least considering that, so as to do this. That said, I do appreciate the spirit of this communication and resolution that seeks to do our very best to acquire as many sustainable vehicles as possible. You know, I heard this saying last week. I often say the perfect is the enemy of the good. I heard it yesterday or last week said that it could be perfect or it could be Wednesday because we need it by Wednesday. And sometimes that's just the nature of how municipalities operate. Is we have deadlines we have to move. We have needs that need to be filled that are of an emerging and first responder nature. And so we have to be flexible. And I think that's the spirit of what we're talking about here. That said, again, if there's anything this council can do to speed up processes that are by their nature cumbersome and slow at times, I think we'd be open to that. Any further discussion?
President?
Vice President Keppel.
Does the police department currently have a pickup truck?
We do not. And just to clarify, Fleet ordered 7 hybrid vehicles that were going to 5 for police vehicles, 2 for fire, and a supplier could only come up with 5. So one of them went to the fire for the community paramedic, leaving us with 4, and there were no more available. So we either go without an extra vehicle this year, or we pivoted to the pickup truck. Just it wasn't like we canceled our hybrid vehicle to get the pickup truck. It was pulled out. The rug was pulled out from underneath us. So, and this is something we've needed for a while, and we just figured it would be a good fit to plug it in, and rather than forego a vehicle, because if we have supply chain issues next year and we only get half the vehicles we want, then our fleet is really going to be depleted. So that was the reasoning for this.
Thank you for that clarification. Director Gordon, further comment?
Thanks, Chief. And to follow up with what Chief said, we also did research. Once we knew Chief was looking for a truck, it has to be pursuit rated, being a police vehicle. And unfortunately, there were no pursuit rated trucks available in hybrid and electric at this time. So that was the first bridge we crossed, and then obviously this is where we got to. So we did research, we entertained it. Obviously that was the route we wanted to go, but once that was not an option, this was the next best thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you, and thank you for that information and the information that was shared with I appreciated Councilman Rader sending those questions ahead of time. I had similar questions, and that helped me get that information. I just wanted to clarify those. So the communication indicated the pickup truck is mostly for the delivery of supplies that are needed or for confiscation, that sort of thing. So would it be used in pursuits, or it would be used more for facilitating your work?
It'll be used more on an as-needed basis. It won't be on a patrol, but if we respond to a scene and you know, there's a robbery around the corner and the car goes past that truck, we want the truck to be able to pursue that vehicle and, you know, stop whoever's inside and not just wave to it as it goes by.
And if I could, one more.
Go ahead.
So, and then you mentioned, Chief Kochek, about, you know, the number of vehicles that police were intending to have. 6 vehicles was?
5.
5.
Yeah.
And so there were the 4 hybrid, and then, because we could only get so many, right?
Right.
And then, so with shifting to the pickup that will only be used as needed, does that mean that there are enough vehicles for all of our officers that need them, or?
Yes, there
Okay.
still are, yeah. Right now, I mean, and I don't want to get off topic here, but because of supply chain issues, we have 2 patrol vehicles and 2 Detective Bureau cars that are out of service because they had recalls, but Ford does not have the parts for them. And they've been sitting idle now for, I'm going to say, 5 or 6 months because they're not safe to operate and they're just sitting in our back lot until we can get the parts. So it's a long, convoluted issue here with the supply chain issues.
I don't think that's too far from the topic at hand. I think that's helpful context, to be honest. Any further discussion? Hearing none on the motion to adopt, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 13, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding Community Recycling Awareness Grant Award.
Director Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear members of council, the city's Division of Refuse and Recycling was awarded a $6,000 grant from the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District for the Community Recycling Awareness Program. The division will use this grant to produce and mail 30,000 informal postcards featuring current recycling requirements to all 28,000-plus households in the city, with the remainder being set aside for handouts. Recycling requirements, specifically what can and cannot be recycled, have changed over the years, and the Division of Refuse and Recycling is aligned with the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District in its desire to communicate this information and educate our community. The design and content of the distributed material will be approved by the Solid Waste District. We expect to spend $6,000 to cover the costs of printing and mailing services, which will be reimbursed by the grant. Pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance, Section 111.14B, this letter serves as a notice of our intention to accept these funds. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded, and I'll first comment that, you know, what can and cannot be recycled is often very confusing, and so I can really appreciate the spirit of this communication and the grant, of course, that will be communicating what. We have far too many people who wish cycle, I think is the term, and this is a means to avoid people thinking something is recyclable when it in fact is not. Any further discussion? Vice President Keppel.
Thank you. Thank you for this notification and for pursuing this award. My question is the award specifically, I know historically we've gotten from the district, it's sort of the mailer it's been similar each year with sort of the blocks of what can and can't, you flip the side, and so it kind of looks the same, but the information may change, and that seems like it comes, I see that the design will be set out by them. Is it basically their material that they give us a grant that we send out their material? Is that?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
You know, it has to get approved through them, obviously, through the grant program. So any type of material that you want on the postcard for the mailing has to be approved by them because they're issuing the grant.
And is the grant, not necessarily for this year, I know you already have a plan for this year, but is it limited to print materials? Like, for instance, could it be used for other types of media to reach folks?
I'm trying to think of how I could say this.
No.
I think with the route we're going, that this is the best way to go in order to receive the grant.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to try to answer for anyone. My apologies. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. Item 14.
Item 14, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding County Road Preventative Maintenance Reimbursement Program.
Director Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear members of council, the city's Division of Streets and Forestry was awarded $89,719.25 from the Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works for the 2023 County Road Preventative Maintenance Reimbursement Program. The Streets Division will use this reimbursement funding to perform crack sealing work on Detroit, Madison, Riverside, and Warren. As part of the reimbursement program, the county will process only for material costs, and the total reimbursable cost for the year 2023 may not exceed $89,719.25. Pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance Section 111.14B, this letter serves as notice of our intention to accept these funds. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Director, are these funds sought specifically for these 4 streets?
Yes, so those were the streets that were proposed and accepted.
Understood. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes, which brings us to the end of our docket this evening. I assume we don't have anyone signed up for public comment, unless Cindy signed up. Okay. Any announcements from the administration?
If you want to learn more about recycling, we're doing programs at Cove, so to counter that.
All right. We can talk about generator options there as well. Any updates or conversation points from my colleagues? I do want to point out, just given the, I guess, somewhat heated discussion just now on hybrid vehicles and the like, Councilman Bullock's passion for this topic and how you're pushing on this topic has made our city better in that regard. So I do appreciate your work there, as well as Councilman Rader and my colleagues. Anything else? Hearing none, I will move to adjourn.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.